anyway, but we can move on to rugby league, and honestly, guys, it's just our opinion segment for the 12th placed 2023 12th placed Sea Eagles preview for 2024. And so let's just kick into it. We can look at their gains and losses. Now, out of all of the teams that we've previewed so far, their gains and losses change the makeup of even the genetics of their team more than any other team so far. So they've gained Luke Brooks, obviously, as their major signing. Bailey Hodgson, Itasi James, Jackson Paulo, Tommy Talau, Corey Waddell from your Bulldogs, Brandon Wakeham. It's funny because they've gained a lot of Tigers, like 4 Tigers. 4 out of 7 players they've gained Tigers. Like, who the hell's buying ex-Tigers? They have lost, and again, like a few players to the Tigers. The Fainu brothers, Latu and Samuela, they've lost Morgan Harper, Sean Kepi, Kelma Tuilagi, and Kaio Weeks. They have got a whole bunch of re-signings, but they just retain their team. But yeah, I think the genetic makeup of their team has changed. They're basically the first team to sign, I don't know, I use air quotes, a gun spine member in Luke Brooks, really, a gun. I don't know if he's
he's one thing he is on. He's experienced. I mean, with Luke Brooks partnering DC in the halves, that means Manly boasts the most experienced halves pairing in the NRL with 510 NRL games between them.
Well,
so
he can play
experience.
Can play 7 and 6. We talked a lot about Manly and the fact that they've got a lot of money wrapped up in just a very small number of players. There's a whole bunch of comments going on right now about Manly in our on our Facebook, and we'll get to those social media blower-uppers.
See what the blower-upper is.
There's actually a bit of an argument going on there, and we can't keep up to date with all the comments between a couple of the guys, but we'll just do the overarching one that's kicked it all off and discuss our thoughts on that. But now, historically, if DCE was injured, Manly wouldn't have a half. They'd have to makeshift half or bring someone who's like super inexperienced up. Tom Trbojevic injured, they don't have a fullback. At least now they have a senior half that can cover for DCE. When he's away in Origin and stuff.
I guess the issue is with Brooks is he does have experience, but it's bad experience. Yeah, because he's never played a finals game. He had an 11-season career at the West Tigers and never played a finals game as the halfback.
So they've been using what's his name, Josh Schuster in the halves.
So he can go back to the edge.
Which he's way more comfortable and a much better back rower. He was he's a makeshift half. Now they actually have a half who's senior and experienced and like a gun, but.
Schuster played 14 games at 5'8" last year, so now he can move back.
It doesn't make up for the fact that if they lose Tom Trbojevic, and he gets lost every time, they lose. Okay, he's played 18 out of 48 games in the last 2 years, and it's 20 wins and 27 losses in the period. Simple fact is, Manly wins. Manly wins when Trbojevic is on the field, and they don't when he isn't. It doesn't matter who the halves are.
Yeah, you mentioned that 18 of 48 games. That's because of shoulder and pec injuries that have kept him out. The last time he played a full season, John, was in 2021, and he won the Dahlia medal, and Manly made the top 4. So... Manly are the only club to have won a premiership in each of the last 5 decades, John. The 70s, 80s, 90s.
So they're due one.
2000s and 2010s. They've had a disappointing couple of years, John. They've only played finals 3 times in the last 9 seasons. Their last premiership was 2011. That's 13 years ago now. I know there are some clubs with longer waits than that.
Yeah, but
that's still a long time. So there you go, John. There's a few stats there for you on Manly.
And their draw that sits in the middle of the difficulties. They play the Titans, Warriors, Raiders, Rabbitohs, Roosters, Eels, Dragons, and Panthers twice. So obviously in that, Panthers and Roosters are big dangers. Warriors in the middle of there. Eels, Rabbitohs could go either way. Titans, Raiders, Dragons. They're another team with 0 5-day turnarounds. They play 2023 top 8 teams 12 times, top 4 only 6 games, but bottom 4 also 6 times. We've gone through the bottom 4 and we've left all of them out of the top 8, so we don't expect any of them to be a danger game for the Sea Eagles. They're opening 6 rounds where they can set their season as Rabbitohs in the US, then Roosters at home, Eels away, Dragons away, Panthers at home, Warriors away. So it's middle of the road, a few easy ones or middle of the road ones, a couple of hard ones in there. Yeah, they could win the premiership. With the team they have in their starting 17, they can win a premiership. But if 2 of them go down, then they miss the 8. That's always been the problem with the Sea Eagles. They got Anthony Seibold over there, and I've mentioned before, if Anthony Seibold is a good coach, he spent a year fixing that problem. Looks like they haven't, and they have waiting in the wings. Like their coaching staff is Anthony Watmo, Brett Stewart, Jeff Tuvey, Matt Orford, Jamie Buren, Solomon Hamano. Tuvey is an experienced coach. Matt Orford is apparently, by all reports, ready to take the step up to coach. He's a Manly, he understands the Manly DNA. If Anthony Seibold doesn't do well this year, I would expect his job to be on the line. I always run, fake bets at the beginning of the year with which coach I think will go first, and
I think a lot of his job security hinges on Tom Trbojevic.
Yeah, that's it. You can't really run a team like that.
I know. It's a high risk salary cap strategy that they run, and as a result, they've only made the finals 3 times in the last 9 seasons. So, John, I've done a predicted lineup for Manly. I might run you through that. So, Tom Trbojevic, obviously at fullback. Let's hope, John, that he gets an injury-free season.
If he even gets through the trials.
Christian Tuipulotu and Jason Saab on the wings. I've got Ruben Garrick and Tolu Kula in the centres. The halves, obviously, we've talked about, John, Luke Brooks and Daly Cherry-Evans. In the front row, I've got Josh Aloiai and Taniela Paseka, and Lachlan Croker is the dummy half. In the back row, I've got Hamile Olakauatu and Josh Schuster, like we talked about, moving into the back row now after playing much of last year in the halves. Jake Trbojevic, the overpaid Jake Trbojevic, on $900,000 or $950,000 a year off the top of my head, John. He is overpaid, but he is the lock forward. On the bench, I've got Gordon Chan Kum Tong, Toa Fofoe Sipley, Ethan Bullimore and Ben Trbojevic on my bench there, John.
Yeah, Ben Trbojevic is last year. He's got you never know. They could end up keeping Ben Trbojevic to keep Tom happy as well. By the way, just so you know, you can't say Jake Trbojevic is overpaid because you're not entitled to your opinion. You haven't played first grade rugby league.
So sorry, John. I'll bear that in mind next time.
Next time. Just even though he's fully overpaid, just so you know.
Just a bit of a look at their injuries, John. A few players I mentioned there are on the casualty ward list at the moment. Christian Tuipulotu, he's got a knee injury. They're hoping he'll be right for round 1. Josh Aloiai, a shoulder, same deal, John. Hopefully back for round 1. Carl Lawton, I don't think I had him in my team there, John. I didn't. He's battling to be available for selection with a shoulder injury. So Matt Lodge is the only injury that looks likely to spill over into the season, John. He's got a knee injury. He'll be back between rounds 4 to 8, but I couldn't find a spot for him in that team there, John.
Yeah, I remember when he came back, they were talking him up for Origin. Where is he now? He's been through 17 clubs, and that kind of showed at that time the depth of the New South Wales front row forwards, actually, rather than the Matt Lodge. Look, I'm being lenient with them, and I'm going to assume that Tom Trbojevic stays fit, and I've got them at 6th this year.
I've got exactly the same, John. Exactly the same. Only because Tom Trbojevic is due for an injury-free season, given that the last 2 he's been on the sidelines. He's only 27. He's not that old yet, John, so I think he is due for an injury-free season, hoping that he has some good luck there. as I said before, the last time he had an injury-free season, he was the Dally M medalist in 2021, and Manly finished in the top 4.
Yeah.
So based on that and that alone, I've got them finishing 6th in the top 8. If he goes down with a season-ending injury again, John, my prediction immediately changes and they go nowhere near making the top 8.
I put him at the 16th position if he goes down.
Yeah, if he goes down injured, they're bottom 4.
Yeah, and that's it. And that, if Anthony Seibold is a good coach, that's what he's got to fix. But yeah, that's the Sea Eagles. That's our first team from outside of the 8 moving into the 8.
Yes.
And the Sea Eagles were thereabout for some of the year last year, and then obviously Tom Travojevic going down in Origin ruined their lives.
Yes.
So that's honestly, guys, it's just our opinion. Let's get ready to cop the abuse. Although I don't think the 37 Sea Eagles fans are going to even care because there's only about 37 of them. They won't travel over the bridge and they probably don't travel on the internet either.
Yeah, I noticed the previews that have gone up on YouTube, John, the Tigers and Bulldogs ones seem to be attracting a lot of attention.
It's got a lot of flack for the Tigers ones.
Gee, the Tigers, I'll tell you what about the Tigers supporters. They are a passionate bunch. The Bulldogs ones are as well, but gee, I'm surprised the level of passion of Tigers supporters.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised there's no Dragons.
Yeah, I would have thought they would have had a bit more attention, John. But anyway, Tigers and Bulldogs attracting a lot of...
I kind of think, Dragons fans are really fair weather fans and they've disappeared over the last few years and forget the Dragons exist. What'll happen is the Dragons go well, then they'll start jumping on, because then the Dragons fans will start going looking for every negative comment about the Dragons for the past 5 years, and they're like, yeah, but look at 2024.
Yeah, that's the difference between the Tigers and the Dragons. The Tigers supporters seem to get more interested the more they're struggling.
Yeah.
And Dragons supporters seem to just disappear off the face of the earth.
So yeah, that's it for this week. We're gonna have to start doing tour-a-days soon because we're running out of time. But that's all right. That'll be fun.